Hey Ravens fans, I'm so excited today to be joined by Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti and head coach John Harbaugh. Thank you so much for the time today.
Pleasure.
Good to be here.
So right before the owners meeting started, news broke that you have a new contract extension, and obviously very excited, I'm sure, for you and for you. Steve, in getting this deal done, what has you most excited about the future with John and this team?
Steady. I think we were doing a lot of the right things, and it's not a lot of work. I don't know if you spent any time on it, but I didn't. I mean, you've got an agent, and I've got Sashi, so it's just kind of, we knew it was going to come. It wasn't like a surprise, I don't think, to either of us. It was just, I didn't know how long it was going to take to work out the deal, but I think his agent probably was excited to get it done as quickly as we were, and I don't think it took much time, and there wasn't much deal. We're just extending a thing. I think he demanded more money, but other than
Use that term loosely.
Suggested. You suggested.
Appreciate it.
Strong suggestion. So yeah, we're happy to have him for 4 more years.
John, for you, you've been here 17 years. Obviously, that's rare in the NFL. I don't need to tell you that, and this is going to take you past 20. What does that mean to you?
Well, it just means I'm more determined than ever. I mean, I think just when you have an opportunity to be together all these years like this, and we've had so many moments, and I think it's like life kind of is a metaphor for life. The challenges, there's opportunities, there's obstacles, there's conversations, there's all these things that come up, and you walk these journeys together, and I feel like you kind of build these relationships with people. And Steve, I've said this before, he's become like a big brother. I have a little brother, but I never had an older brother, and to have over the course of this time, just what we've been through together, I just want to make him proud, and I want to work hard, and I want to find a way to continue to improve. I feel proud about the things that we've accomplished, but unfulfilled. You feel like all we're really thinking about.
It's championships.
Yeah, we weren't talking about any of this other stuff.
We're pissed.
Yeah, we're talking about let's get this done. Let's accomplish what we want to accomplish right now.
I'm curious how that dynamic works in season and out of season. How the two of you, the conversations that you have, the counsel, especially that you lean on Steve for during the season, and how you push each other, because this is like a partnership as you're talking about. How does that relationship work over the course of the year?
I think I don't come out of left field very often to him. When I'm giving him advice, I think that we have our lanes, and I know what he's going through because he's the face of the franchise, and he's going through these decisions. He's being questioned and criticized and everything else. And so I take it seriously. It makes me mad when he's unduly criticized. If he's criticized and I agree with it, I kind of have to work my way into telling you that I agree with the criticism.
And you're good at it. You do a good job of it.
Yeah, it's like a sharp knife, not a butter knife.
It's quick. It's a quick shot.
So yeah, it's just I love feeling like at the end of the day that I contributed to his north. I know what he wants. I know what he wants to accomplish. Can he get distracted sometimes? Yeah, because there are distractions all around him. There's no distractions around me. So I think it's my opportunity to kind of like pull him back and remind him. I'm not telling him to be somebody. I'm reminding him that he might be a hair off of being what he wants to be when he wants to be, So I like my role, and I like my role being behind the scenes. I don't wish that on him, but it's par for the course. It's why he makes more money than I do.
Really? I'll check the books on that. It's true though. I mean, there's a lot going on. I mean, there's a lot of, you're driving this car, man, there's lights flashing everywhere, and there's traffic everywhere, and there's people zooming around, and you get on the phone, or we'll talk, or Steve will stop by and sit down on the couch sometimes and just, have you thought about this? Or maybe you should be looking at it that way. Or did you hear this happened? Or here's what I was thinking when that situation came up. I thought you were going to make this move, or you were going to make that decision. And it just is a chance to kind of just get back on track a little bit, or just not maybe not be so distracted about something or blinded by something. Stuff can get you kind of emotionally sidetracked. I can be thinking about something too much sometimes. He's like, why are you worried about that? That's not even what we're talking about here.
Not the main thing.
It's not the main thing.
Not the main thing now.
Right.
Right.
Right. And that's valuable. And for a head coach, you don't get that too often, because it's not too often the players are going to say that. It's not even too often Eric will say it to me. He will sometimes, but or even the coaches, because they're all in their forest. I'm trying to be their forest for the trees, but I've got to have somebody be my step back and take a big picture look at it.
You mentioned Eric, and for both of you, stability has been the name of the game for the Ravens for forever. And you went from Ozzie to Eric, and there's this great partnership between personnel and coaching, and that is not the case everywhere, as both of you know. How important has that been, the dynamic between both sides being aligned in the direction that you're going?
It's obviously, it's everything. The hiring process is fraught with mistakes because you don't have the time. I mean, we spent 10 hours together before I hired you, and that lasted, it's now 17 years. So how do you not make mistakes? So I see my partners, my business partners, they make mistakes, but it's not necessarily that they're bad judges of character or talent or anything. It's that they're under the gun. They don't have time to get to know people. We're hiring strangers, I mean, I did that in my business my whole life, and Art was great at it too. And so, I came in under his tutelage, and that was the one thing I think Art was great at was judging character, keeping a family environment, keeping an honest, transparent environment. And I thought he was really good at all those skills. And then he hands me Ozzie. I mean, he drafts him in the first round, and then he says, hey, if you're giving up football, you're not giving up the Browns. So scouting or coaching, you decide. So I inherit him, and one of his first hires is Eric. So that's put in, right there. I inherit a coach. 3 years after I take charge, I replace him with John, and continuity is a gift that you get. You try and participate in that continuity, but it's really it's bigger than people. You've got to really work at it, and it can go sideways if you don't work hard at it. And that it is like, we get complimented by the continuity, and it's like, well, what's the alternative? Rolling through coaches. Right. Well, then you're picking the wrong people, obviously. And they're failing at their job.
It's not just choosing the right people, although I think, as I've looked at it, you've always done that. I mean, Steve is always, that's how you made a fortune, by choosing people. But it's not just choosing people, it's also working with people. It's also coaching people, developing people along the way. Countless conversations where he's advised me about an interaction with a player or a coach or scouting or something, or hey, or I'll just call him up and say, hey, we're having a problem. I'm having a problem. What do I say in this situation? How would you look at this? And we'll be on the phone for hours sometimes going through it all. And you've always got a take on it that I never really thought about. It's always some other type of an angle that is just kind of, wow, that's another way to look at it. And it's, the NFL is kind of fraught with fault lines. The biggest one is the coaching and the scouting fault line. And there's, in every organization, I'm sure every dynamic there's power and there's pushes and pull and who's in charge of what and all that kind of stuff. I've never felt that in our organization ever. And because of the people. The people are the people positioned in these different spots. But the people here, when you walk in or you walk into an office, you have a conversation, you see them in the parking lot, they're good people. They're good people who have the same goal. But we all know what the expectations are because the boss sets the standard. This is how we're going to treat one another. This is how we're going to interact with one another. There's never been like who's in charge of this or whatever. Everybody understands their area of responsibility and they just want it to be good, but everybody works with one another. We don't agree to disagree on anything. We agree to agree ultimately on everything. But that's the work you're talking about, right?
Yeah, the work, exactly. My strength is that I bought a hobby, not a business. I've been in business. I was successful at business. I took pride in that business. When I got into this, I wanted it to be an uber hobby. And I think that it freed me to look at this next career of mine as not life and death, because I spent 20 years like everything was life and death. And so I have a partner and it's life and death for him.
I was just going to say, it's like
Right?
good for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's not for me. And so I think that that's why I can give good counsel, because it's not life or death for me.
A huge part of it too is the quarterback. And you've had a lot of consistency and stability at quarterback throughout your tenure. And of course, with Lamar, there's this partnership that exists. How significant has that been in your success, not just the on the field stuff? I mean, we watch Lamar every week and he's incredible in terms of the things that he does, but that stability at quarterback and having Lamar as your quarterback, how big of a role has that played?
Well, it's been massive. When I first got here, we were looking for a quarterback, and it was new to me. I was coming in as a special teams coach kind of guy, and they were talking about drafting the franchise quarterback, and with the 7th pick in the draft, and the strategy that was involved in that. I remember a conversation we had at the base of the steps, I'll come off the practice field, where Steve and Ozzie and Eric were involved, Dick Cass were involved in this, and I'm just listening and learning and watching. How's this going to go? And they worked it all out, and we ended up with Joe Flacco. Yeah. And it was amazing.
I'll never forget it.
That conversation?
Oh yeah, and exactly where you said we were, because I had taken over in 2004, and then Kyle Bowler didn't work out like we hoped he would, and then Steve McNair comes in, and then his body breaks down, and then 206 turns into a terrible 207, which leaves us with the 8th pick in the draft. Hire him, and they're saying that there's one first-round quarterback in that draft that year, and it was Matt Ryan. Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't care what you have to give him. Like the whole Mike Ditka, Ricky Williams thing. Like, I don't care. I'm not so dug into the value of draft picks right now, because without Matt Ryan, we're not going to be any good. And
because you have to have the quarterback.
Got to have the quarterback. So to me, it was like, stop talking to me about draft assets when there is I want a team asset, and that is everybody in the world is saying that there's one first-round quarterback. And it turned really out to be true, because we're the ones that went back in and got Joe.
Right.
Cam said, this guy's got as much upside as Ryan. You shouldn't give up the world. We can do just as well with Joe. Yeah. And I was like, all right, you better. I don't know you very well. You better not be wrong.
You better be right.
We appreciate it, Cam.
And so that's what we did. And so we traded out instead of down and got Joe, and we had a hell of a run with Joe, and we were able to parlay this into 7 more years. So we have had a nice run.
And then we had Lamar in the same sort of a situation. I mean, Lamar was not the top-rated guy.
Yep.
Right.
That was a different kind of year, because there was a bunch of quarterbacks that year. And we had the conversation about Lamar in the draft meetings all the way through, on the phone. How many times did we talk? Yeah. But we didn't want anybody to know. And we did. We were in the draft meetings, and the conversation kind of came back around, and it ended up being, can we build an offense around Lamar Jackson? Can we do it? And we decided that we could, and that we'd give it a shot. But that wasn't the end of it, because we still had to get him. And I remember the draft day on that one. I had stepped out because we had made the pick of Hayden, and still Lamar was kind of in the back of everybody's mind. And I'd gone out to eat like an ice cream cone or something, try to relax. I come back in, and they're buzzing. Steve's buzzing, Eric and Ozzie are buzzing. And he looks at me, and I'm like this, and he goes, Lamar. That was the conversation.
Yeah.
And
And
we went back and got Lamar,
Yeah.
kind of like we went back and got Joe.
And made just what you said, building a team. Can we build an offense around Lamar? Well, can we build a team around this coach? Can we build a company around the employees I absorbed from Art Modell? That's the question. It's like, well, you can if you do it right. If you're dedicated to it, if you're really good at it, yes, you can. And that's, you go back from me to you to Lamar, and people are saying, what are they saying now, that they couldn't build an offense around Lamar? How silly does that sound now? Because we were looking at it like, oh, this is a big, thing. It's like, no, it really isn't. It's not as hard as we think it is.
And so it's interesting. So you, going back to that point when you drafted Lamar, you felt like, because it's easy to say now that, oh, no brainer, of course, you could build it around him and everyone envisioned this success. But like, he was the 32nd pick.
They wanted him to work out as a receiver at the
Right,
combine.
right. And so it's
Not bad for a running back.
Yeah, not bad for a running back, exactly. And so to make that decision at the time, it was considered a risk. But what made you feel like this is the route we want to go, and how has he just changed his team?
I don't even look at it as a risk, really. I don't like that word, because if it failed, we failed. It wasn't that Lamar failed. So the minute we're making an out of the box, again, how out of the box was it? I just thought, well, it's going to succeed because we're going to mitigate the risk. That's the whole point of taking on risks, is having confidence in your partners that you can mitigate it and bring it down to almost no risk at all.
And really, what was the risk? Like, I remember looking back and having this conversation. It's like, okay, everybody was chasing the prototype kind of quarterback, which was Joe, who was very successful, but also the Mannings, the Bradys, and those guys. Everybody wanted that type of a quarterback. Well, how many of those guys were there that won Super Bowls? They're so hard to find, and they were so overvalued that it became kind of impossible. Those were actually the unicorns. Now you've got a guy that looks a little different in the style of play, yet he's super talented. So you could look at the way he played and you say, this is a very talented quarterback, a very talented football player. He's a value because of that. It just is kind of different than what other people are looking for, they see. So our opportunity to get him where we were drafting kind of went up. So it really wasn't a big risk that way. It was just a different kind of a choice.
Coach, you made this point today, and you've been a supporter, obviously, of Lamar since the day he came in, and you made the point that it's a matter of when, not if, he wins that Super Bowl. And of course, you're all working towards that. Just how badly, I guess, do you want it for Lamar? Of course, for each other, but for him and he's been chasing that. You know, he said that on the moment he was drafted.
Can't even put it into words. Can't even express it. It's like so deep. It's so deep inside. Such a desire, just such a determination to get it done. For really, you're right. For Lamar, for all the guys. I mean, every single person in that locker room, every single person in that building, Steve, all of us, we want that kind of success because, I mean, yeah, I think we're doing process, we're doing so many things right, but you know what? We haven't been able to be good enough when we needed to be good enough to take the next step to get that much closer. And even if we'd won the championship game 2 years ago against the Chiefs, we still would have had to win the Super Bowl. If we'd have beaten the Bills last year, we still would have had to beat the Chiefs and win the Super Bowl. So there are other steps. We've got to get good enough in everything we do, so when those moments come the next time around, that we can come through, you know? But we all want it for each other. And so we want it for Lamar. Absolutely, we want it for each other.
I don't look at Lamar singularly. It's such a, I want it for Ronnie Stanley. I want it for Marlon Humphrey. It's like, it just doesn't stop with Lamar. Lamar doesn't even stand out to me as who I'm rooting for, right? Like, we've been doing this forever. I want it for Eric DaCosta. Has he technically won a Super Bowl as a GM? No. So it's like, okay, I want that. Ozzie got a couple of them. I want Eric to get it. Right. So it's like, yeah.
We want it for the fans too, man. I want to see the fans dance in the streets like they were in 2013 and like they were in 2000.
I don't like waiting 12 years.
No.
And yet I'm respectful of the fact that I've got partners downstairs that still don't have one. Impatience is good for you. I think it's healthy to a degree because all of us still feel it, and if I had burned through 4 coaches, then it would be completely different because it's like, okay, now let's see what you can do, and now let's see. I know what we can do. I know that we work to put ourselves in position to win, and we all get credit for that, and that's all you can do. And I hate it that every year you just have to start back over again. But you know what? This is not for the meek.
No. And when we win it, we're going to start all over again and try to do it again.
Yeah, that euphoria will last about a minute.
All right, what's our next move? But I want that. I want to be there.
I want to be there.
I want to have that problem.
It's like everything else. Like every game, it'll be a relief.
Right.
It's not like
it is.
hallelujah. Yeah. You just then think, oh, good. Now it's been no year since our last championship.
Right.
And then it'll be 1, and then it'll be 2, and then it'll be 3, and we'll be going, damn it, I wanted to repeat. No, I want,
Right. Well, maybe we will repeat.
We've got a window. We've got a window with Lamar.
Steve, I know you are super into the draft. I know you've joked in the past about, hassling Eric during this time of the year.
It's only been a couple of days since his last draft call. So.
I'm sure I should get Eric's take on this.
Yeah.
How long were we on the phone? It was a couple hours.
I'm pulling up a receiver that you were like, oh, I love him, and he's like 6th round in, and we both are like, okay, yeah, I love it. I just love it. I always said that I tell my friends, free agency, we have a budget and we quickly burn through it. Like this year, like we came back to Jupiter, and we don't need a wholesale change. We need to figure out how many of our guys. We had more free agents than we had money available to spend. Mm-hmm. And that happens every year. But we weren't really looking outside the organization. And then we were psyched to get Ricard, and psyched to get Ronnie, and psyched to get Tylen, and it's like, but we had let a lot of them go. And that's never a good thing. But going in, you're going to have more free agents that you want than you have money to spend on, right? So
that's a good thing.
I tell people that's my money. That's our money. But the draft is already in Eric's budget. So I say the draft is like going Christmas shopping with somebody else's credit card. Mm-hmm. That's how exciting it is, because they're all free. They've already been accounted for. They're already paid for. So I just love it. And I love watching these guys. I can't believe some succeed and I can't believe some fail. It's like when I go through the people that I've loved more than you, you've loved more than me, and some of them are great, and some of them, you think, how did that guy fail? Yep. But there's so much that goes into it that we don't really know. There are backstories to a degree, but yeah, it's fun. It's my hobby on top of my main hobby. That's that's my off-season hobby.
Yeah. And I'm sure, I know you love the draft too. Are you fired up about just the process and the prospects?
I can't talk about it enough. I mean, just watching the tape, the grind of that part of it. 171 players we were talking about, and Steve's seen guys, and it's fun. It's like who fits our team? Who do you really want? We'll ask the coaches all the time, and Eric asks the questions. It's just tell me who you want. Tell me who you want and you see a spot for in this team, and who you're excited about. That's the fun part of it.
Taking it beyond the field. The organization is in great shape. The stadium lease is in place. Yeah. There's exciting renovations happening at the stadium. There's renovations happening at the Under Armour Performance Center. How pleased are you when you look at the state of the organization as a whole, beyond just the football team, but where this team sits organization-wide?
Goes back to the continuity you're talking about. I had one president for 20 years, and Sashi stuck with me for 20 more. and it's just money. It's just debt. It's just we want the best for our fans. I want the best for my players. So yeah, the facilities. That's just a no-brainer. I wouldn't ever get caught behind. I'd rather be one step ahead of that stuff. And God bless the state of Maryland. They came up with the money. They didn't get it to the point Art Modell was in Cleveland and Irsay was here in Baltimore. It was like the state realized that they've got a gem there at Camden Yards, and they needed to be proactive. And they showed us without fighting how the state can work with teams. And I know David is appreciative of it too across the street, and so we've got a great thing going here, both baseball and football.
I got a question about that. You talk about a gem at Camden Yards, and some of these other stadiums that they're already built kind of in the same era that they're tearing down and replacing. Yet you've got this gem at M&T Bank Stadium that you're making better and renovating, but it is kind of becoming an iconic stadium, right?
Yeah, I think so. And part of that is M&T stepping up and giving us extension upon extension, and they're great. They're just a great partner. So yeah, I think that when you say iconic, it's like win games, and certainly the name on the stadium better stay the same.
Yeah, and it has become, to your point, a place that when we talk to these free agents who come in, they say, man, we played here in 2021 and it was so tough. You know, the night game there was so tough. And I remember that game on Sunday Night Football. I think it's developed a reputation around the NFL.
Yeah. And I even think driving up to it, like you see, it's got the brick and the steel and it's night and the lights and the way it's set up. It's going to last forever. It's not going to be one of those, you know, it's not going to look like a spaceship landing there. It's going to look like a stadium.
And listen, we started construction after Camden Yards, so it was only fitting that we kind of tried to do something that was similar, that was old school, and so old school lasts. Yeah.
So, lastly, this is the 30th season of Ravens football in Baltimore for both of you. Obviously, it's been a great run up to this point for these first 30 years. What do you envision for the next 30 years of Baltimore Ravens football?
I don't know. I don't know. I want to win now. Right. I don't give a damn about 30 years from now. I really don't. I want to win now. I want to win with these guys. I want to win now.
Yeah. 30 days from now. I'm talking about 30 days from now. Got draft coming up.
Draft coming up. Right.
You guys are fired up about this year. I can tell. It seems like there's just the energy and enthusiasm, and you're ready to play.
We're ready.
Yeah, we're going to be great. We're going to be a great team. We're going to go do it every day. We got to get good at the things that really matter. You know, we're determined.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for the time.
Very well.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Garrett.
You got it.